Hey everyone, Luke here. Now before I get into Dr. Stone, just want to say one very quick thing. My second book is complete, edited, nearly ready to go. Just got sent it around to a couple of few people to have a check over it, to give me a few pointers if anything needs changing. But yeah, pretty much that is done. It's been a long time coming, and hopefully it'll be as emotional as what has been happening in Dr. Stone recently. But yeah, that'll be out next month, hopefully, fingers crossed. Let's get it going, and then moving on to my third and final book. But for now, with Dr. Stone, can't say that word. Holy moly, there we go. Okay, I know I don't really like to swear in videos, but and me saying that one word, which will probably get YouTube's attention if I continue saying it. Yeah, I apologise for that, guys. Anyway, let's move on to chapter 191, titled "Defying Scream Down to Earth." Now, with that title, you kind of think down to earth, like there's only one person that's not on Earth that could potentially be screaming down to us, and we all know who it is. Yeah, the end of this chapter, it's kind of like, yeah, things are going down. Anyway, the chapter starts off immediately after the end of the last one, because we've been away for 2 weeks. Basically, the Kingdom of Science and the American colonies, they're at odds with each other now, and Senku's saying, screw paying alliance, we're just going to go all out. It's either do or die in this situation. As we see, the Kingdom of Science in Quincy actually attacking Dr. Brody and his Americans, as he's going, their mad charge is sure to get them killed, and they did it so suddenly, but why? And we do get a reason later in the chapter as to why they're actually doing it, because we finally figure out what the message from Senku was to the American to the Kingdom of Science in America, in Corn City was. But for now, we have Magma doing actually a pretty smart move. Gotta give it to Magma here. Like, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Like, I don't think he's actually in the shed half the time, but here he's kind of figured out, like, okay, this device can activate and petrify people, turn them to stone, if we actually scream at how many meters there are to it. So he's actually being credit where credit is due. The Dr. Brody's forces are over there by the safe, so he's doing the where they've stored the device. So he's doing the logical thing of, like, if we can petrify them now, if we can just scream to it and petrify them now, then all of this will be sorted. So he starts screaming 1,000 meters, 1 second, as Yo's going, how dumb are you, Magma? It won't activate unless you're really close, and South America's super far away from here. Dumb? You're the one to talk, dummy, which is what Nikki says, which, yeah, Yo, give Magma some credit. He's actually at least trying something other than brute force for once. So anyway, continuing on, Dr. Brody's like confused about why now all of a sudden, and he figures out that Senku must have issued the order in Japanese, and he's like, oh god, no. And this is where we get the message from Senku that since they're up in North America and they're in South America, they've got to make it so the Medusa swallows them whole. So basically he's going for, like, basically a worldwide petrification at this point, which, to be credited, there's not really much they can do. Like, I wanted something other than, like, just petrification to actually take down Stanley, but at this point they're basically sitting ducks against Stanley. He's become a fibre threat. It's like, yeah, they really have no choice in mind. And granted, it's not the same as how they defeated Ibarra. It's basically like Ibarra and Senku were the last man standing, and Ibarra's ego was the one that actually took him down. But now Senku's like, okay, you guys are enough. You're gonna activate this petrification event and just petrify all of us at this point. And it's all, and obviously at this point the drip's gonna come into play. Like the drip that Chrome brought up a few chapters ago, that obviously going to come into play, that they're going to activate the drip, and it's going to drip on Senku, Chrome, Kazuki and Gen, and they're the ones that are going to get unpetrified as they go. As Senku goes on to say, we're knocking on heaven's door here, so this is our only chance to seize victory. There won't be another. So yeah, he's basically looking at the situation and realizing, yeah, there really is no choice right now. The calamity from 3,700 years ago turned the world to stone, but this time we're using science to let them rip ourselves. To save all of humanity, we've got to destroy ourselves, which, yeah, it's kind of a suicide mission at this point because of what Stanley's actually been doing. Now I've been having complete discussions of camera on Discord and on Twitter about what's going to happen with the Medusa here. Which I'll get into at the end of the chapter. But of course, going back to the Kingdom of Science in North America, we see them charging up Brody's forces as Brody is not wasting any time, and he's just basically saying, shoot them, they're after the petrification device, we can't let them go after it. As we see various members, including Yo, get shot in the chest as he's like, dying could mean the end, but as long as you... No, this is Nikki saying this. Dying could mean the end, but as long as you're still breathing, you'll be fine when all is said and done. So no second thought. But Brody's having none of this, and he's like, just in case, get that thing out of here. As he's like saying, get the safe out of here, just in case they actually get to it. As we see Mozu in all his glory, using what looks like the technique he actually learned from Hyoga, because we actually see it here that he's, from what I can tell here, he's using probably Hyoga's signature technique, which is what he taught him, which is what Hyoga promised he would teach him if they were unpetrified, and obviously they're doing it here. So nice callback to actually moments that were actually followed up on in earlier arcs. Now the rest of this action scene goes by quite quickly, so I'm going to go through the highlights here. So we see Homura use her gymnastic, so we see everyone, okay, from what I see here, we see everyone flip Homura in into a gymnastics pose. She manages to grab the key from around what looks like Brody's neck, but Brody, seeing this, just basically shoots Homura in the arm. It's like, oh no you don't, shoots her in the arm, as we see Kinru and Kinru, Magma, Kinru, Magma and Kirasawa basically playing a game called Hot Potato, which I never really played myself, but it's basically like, okay, you have it, no you have it, no pass it here, as we see Magma be the one to actually grab it and actually open the safe. So, like I said, credit where credit is due on Magma's part. Is like, he's not just going for like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of everyone here. He's like, no, this is more important now, and it's gonna ensure our victory. So, okay, I'm gonna take this opportunity. So, like I said, Magma not really being the sharpest tool in the shed half the time, but I like how Senku's influence on him has kind of changed the perspective of like saying like, not everything needs to be resolved by you just punching and beating the bad guy out. Sometimes you need to take a back burner and be the one to like actually like, okay, I need to be the one to get the device to actually ensure the victory. So I like that we're seeing little developments here on Mag's part, because at the beginning of the series he would have never done something like this. He would have just been like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of people, not going to worry about anything else, not going to focus on the strategic situation. But here, actually doing a pretty sizable strategical attack on Brody's forces to get the device. But I didn't notice this at first, but after Magma opens the safe, he gets riddled with bullets. Like, I didn't notice that at first, and it was only when people actually pointed out to me that I went back and like, holy crap, he's actually been riddled with bullets here. And from what I can tell, Magma is gritting his teeth like, oh my god, this is painful, but at the same time he knows that this is what has to do in order for all of us to survive in this world. And we see the aftermath of the attack, and everyone in the Kingdom of Science is completely decimated. And we see Brody shed a tear for them. Now, this is actually quite important on his part, because it was mentioned that Brody was kind of the pacifist and he didn't really like bloodshed, and he was only forced to do bloodshed when the situation called for it. Like in this situation, like they're getting the petrification device, we don't want them to get the petrification device, so, and they're not going to talk at this point. So at this point, we have to fight, and it seems to pain him quite a deal to actually go through with that. But if it's for the benefit of the American colonies, then he has to go through with it. And I love that the fact that that tear that he has, that kind of shows that he didn't want to do this; he was kind of forced to do this. As Brody's forces comment on the situation and think that it's all over and that's all of them, we see Joel basically being, from what it looks like, he's either being thrown by the people that are on the ground, or he's basically crawling through them, and he's like, I'm gonna get this device. And he activates a button on his watch, and as he grabs the device, Brody. Red is. I can't wait to see Red. I can't wait to see Control Chaos's review on this chapter, because I know Red is a massive Joel fan. But Brody slams the safe door shut on Joel's arm, so it's like, holy crap, that must be painful. Yeah, and nice to see Joel doing another reaction of nice to see another expression on Joel's face here when he's like in agonizing pain from that massive safe being slammed down on his arm. Oh my word, that was painful. When I first saw that, I was like, oh crap. Anyway, the whole point of this was that Brody was saying that he can't let the device get anywhere near them, and he's like, that's a real shame, Joel. Why did you go and betray us? Because Brody sees Joel as like, he's one of us, he's an American, so why would he go and betray us? But obviously Joel has his reasons. Call it Bourbon revenge. I can't pronounce that word. It was not the fact that he didn't want to betray them. It's the fact that Brody interfered with his victory toast, and nobody interferes with someone's victory toast. And he decided, like, okay, if they're going to ruin my victory toast, I'm going to ruin their plans. As Brody goes on to say, ha, little smug crap like that. No, before Joel goes on to say, the Junior Science Brigade has a technician named Kazuki. You just don't want him dying before you get the chance to have a technical discussion about the Medusa with him. Oh no, this is Brody saying this. This is Brody saying, like, they have a technical genius called Kazuki, and Joel wants to have a technical discussion about the Medusa with him. Playing it real cool, Greenhorn. The day you arrived, you whipped out a wristwatch in no time at all. So as a fellow technician, I get it. But now, before we get into what Brody actually says later on, I like to think that Joel and Kazuki, they're eventually going to meet, and they're eventually going to have a technical discussion about what this Medusa actually is. And again, love the fact that Joel actually respects Kazuki now, and sees him like, okay, he's my partner crowd. I've never met him, but at the same time, we've worked together to figure out what this machine actually does, and we can use it to actually help the entire world. So I'll put aside my personality traits of being rude to men, for this one person who's actually proven his worth, and I love that characterization from Joel. But before Brody can continue on, we hear a sound coming from Joel's watch. This is like a sound from his watch. Of course, how the hell would they have gotten Senku's message in the first place? A radio receiver in watch form. Now, Party Jumps actually brought this up. He said that not all watches can pick up radio waves. It's just that Joel himself modified the watch to actually receive radio waves, kind of like in the same way the earpiece on Treasure Island. It's just in a more compacted size, because 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 from what I've read on the internet, all that's really needed to pick up the radio waves is just copper wire. That's basically the main component. So his watch has to have copper wire in it to pick up the radio waves. But anyway, they go on to say, "Screw that radio! Someone can shout and activate the device that way. Someone, but they're all playing. But they're all playing dead. Someone, but they're all playing dead," which is what Brody and his forces are discussing. It's like, wait, that radio, they can pick it up, they can send a signal to it through the watch, but they're all dead. As Joel, he's probably laughing at them right now, going, "The order won't come from us, but rather from God up in the heaven." Yes. Okay, so the Y-Man is basically going to petrify them all again. Or I say everyone again around the world. We'll get into that when we get into it in the final piece of this chapter. Joel says to Brody that he does that. Don't tell me you haven't been hearing it. You haven't been attending science class. All this time the radio waves have been screaming from the heavens down to the earth as we get flashbacks to various chapters of the Y-Man uses Senku's voice. It's on a repeated loop, and it's been coming from the moon, and this absolutely shocks Brody. It's like, oh crap! As we hear 12,800,000 meters 1 second. Of course, in the end, it's Y-Man who does it. Well, with Senku's voice anyway. This will destroy the world and save us all over again. The future of science, our ducks of Dr. Stone, as we see the petrification device going off, and that's where the chapter ends. So, what a cliffhanger! What a cliffhanger ending. Now, I was saying before, like in earlier videos, including my What's the Difference videos, like could the petrification device activate if it was like sealed away in a container, or like could it petrify people that were basically underground with no visible way to the outside world? Because all we've seen throughout the series so far is people, they've had light visible from the outside that have been petrified, but we've never seen people underground. So this actually confirms that yes, it can pass through solid matter. Now with the device as well, my question is, will it reach around the entire world? Because I don't think it can. And people have been saying like, well, what about the multi-attacks that Tsukasa mentioned? Now, yes, I know that, but if that was the case and it only took one Medusa, then why bother with the big-ass pyramid? Why didn't the Y-Man just say, just send one device down to Earth and then be like, okay, testing this one device, okay, it's not working. Oh, testing this one device, it's not working. Okay, testing one device, okay, finally it worked after the fifth time it happened. So no, I reckon that they still need the pyramid to make the mass petrification scale. And the theory that I can back this up is that if you remember back on Treasure Island, we had Ibarra use the 2,000 meters, 15 minutes, and that almost completely drained the battery. So it has to have an upper, this device, like one little Medusa, it has to have an upper limit before it burns out. Kind of like what every piece of technology has. If you use too much electricity at the same time, it'll burn out. And this one is pretty much running on science, so it has to run on electricity in some way, and too much of electrical jolt at once can actually override something and burn out the circuitry. So my guess is that it can only reach the whole of America and South America. It's not going to reach Japan, because then that would like ruin half the idea of the fact that the people in Japan have got to stay behind and build up civilization in Japan. And if they're petrified again, then they can't really do anything for 40 days whilst the Science Kingdom goes back to Japan, and they want to go to Math City as well. Now, somebody actually Party Jumps actually brought up the theory that let's say the petrification device doesn't petrify the Earth, and we see other colonies out there that are like, oh, there's that green light coming from what looks like it's coming from America, and that'll probably get the attention of people in other places that they're actually going to go to, and they're probably going to be coming along at some point. Now, whether or not it's Math City, whether or not that's going to take place in England, if people are seeing like, oh, that's petrification light coming from that way, it looks like it's coming from the way of America, that'll probably get their attention and actually trying to make contact with the same radio waves that are being used at this point. And also as well, if they have the petrification device and it's only this one petrification device, then they're gonna have to be wary of the Y man always constantly having that message on repeat again and again and again. But those are just things we're just gonna have to wait and see. Like, I'm more interested in figuring out, like, okay, will this reach Japan? Will it reach the whole of the world? Because not only Japan, but also Treasure Island as well. They've got to think about Treasure Island as well. So if it reaches all around the world, then that's going to be a major problem. But if it only reaches around certain parts of the world, like say North America and South America, then problem solved. No situation there, and it'll actually give us an idea of like what the upper limits of this device actually is. Like, okay, one device on its own can't petrify the entire world. I feel like that needs to be established. Like, can one device on its own petrify the entire world? And if so, how are they gonna deal with this if they actually survive this? If they actually survive this onslaught? But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasher Luke signing off. Later, guys.